All right, ready? Go.
So I'm from Santa Rosa, and I used to attend a church that I'm not going to say the name out of respect. I used to go to a young adults group every Sunday night with one of my best friends, Haley. I knew a lot of people that attended this church because I either worked with some of them, I worked with them at a summer camp, or met them through the people that I knew there. My best friend Haley and I would go quite often. I introduced her to a lot of the people that I knew. She didn't know many people, and so I wanted her to feel welcome. As her and I kept going, she became friends with some of the girls, and I finally got accepted into Simpson University, which is where I am here now today. And I had to leave that church, unfortunately. I still visit that church when I'm home with her. However, when I left, it affected her. She kept going regularly, and the people that I had introduced her to no longer acknowledged her, talked to her, or really made her feel comfortable at this church. For me, that's a huge bummer because these are some people that I look up to as friends and was hoping they could take her under her wing. She now doesn't really attend the church. If I'm home, she'll go with me. But I do remember a specific time where her and I went together, and she didn't really want to go, but I convinced her because I was only home for a couple days. So she went to hang out with me, and she said to me in the car, "I will go as long as you don't ditch me." And I'm thinking in my head, why would you say that? Like, that's so weird. So then I finally asked her the question, why did you say that? She said that she had told me the reasons why of people not making her feel welcomed and didn't acknowledge her, would say hi to her when she walked into the doors of the church. And for me, that really hurt me. I wonder if Barnabas felt like this in Mark. We read in 46b, Barnabas, a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside, and when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." I want you guys to take a minute, think about a time where you might have felt like Barnabas, or even like my friend Haley at a church. Maybe it was the other way around. Maybe you were like the people in the crowd, ignoring Barnabas. I don't know if any of you have gone to school as a kid or now, or to a church that you've experienced before where you didn't feel welcomed when you first walked in. Or maybe it was the other way around, like I said before. Maybe you were like the crowd where you maybe in junior high or high school at youth group, you didn't acknowledge the kid that was by themselves when they walked in. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad when I say this, but I think that it is something that needs to be brought up in the church. My friend Haley's story has really brought to my attention the fact that the church needs to be aware of situations like this, of when people come into the church, that we need to make them feel welcomed and loved. Reflecting on the passage in Mark with Barnabas has really just brought to my attention, as the same as Haley's situation, of being ignored and being shunned and or not accepted by the people they're around. I don't mean to say that the crowd is rude because I don't know the full situation of everything, but when I see it, it makes me upset with how the crowd reacted to Barnabas. He was a beggar, but he was also a blind man, which we all can, realize that being blind is hard to get around. It's hard to do certain things. So for me, that's just hard to see how a crowd just would not accept and love people just the way they are. All he wanted to do was see Jesus. No one tried to help this man. Just like Haley, not feeling welcomed, and like I said before, shunned in the church, all she wanted was someone to welcome her in and talk to her and make her feel welcomed. I know that churches have cliques And I also work with a high school ministry where there's students, and I see this a lot, where they have cliques. And I even myself, when I was in high school, can say that I was in a group where it was very cliquey, and sometimes I didn't want new people to be in my group. And the more that I get older and the more that I help out with high school ministry, I see these things in the students themselves. And I see them everywhere. It doesn't have to be in high school ministry, it doesn't have to be at the church. It can even be here at Simpson University, where people just feel like there's cliques and you're not accepted. So in a lot of ways, I have noticed how Haley has felt like Barnabas by the crowd, the people of the church. Now that this has been brought up to our attention, we, the church, can be in any setting. And how can we fix this, is what I'm trying to say. A couple things I noticed further on in this reading, in this passage, in 49 is, and Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he is calling you." I think it's crazy how in this passage Jesus doesn't see him at all. He calls for him. He calls Barnabas out of the crowd, out of everyone. Barnabas was rejected by everyone, by the crowd, by everyone. I don't know exactly what it would look like, but I imagine him being on the ground with tons of people surrounding him and everyone waiting for Jesus. Yet Jesus can't even see him, but he hears him and tells him and calls him to take heart and get up, which I think is awesome because Jesus is focusing on him in this passage. He's giving him his attention, Barnabas' attention. We see how Jesus is the example that we as the church, as the body, should be towards the people in the church, the community. Not even in the church, but anywhere we are. I think that if I were called out by Jesus in the crowd, I might get a little crazy, might do something insane because he's calling me. He picked me out of everyone in the crowd. I might faint actually too, I'm not sure. But the fact that he's helping a blind beggar when no one else would shows a lot. He's helping someone who probably is stinky, smelly, has old, dirty clothes on, and it's not a part of the crowd that everyone else is a part of. Jesus is a living example of how we need to be the church, how we need to be loving to the poor, the needy, the homeless. He's being an example of loving on those who are shunned and not paid attention to. It just shows us that we as a church should check our hearts and see where we are at. Maybe we are doing this and maybe we're not, but I feel that this passage has really hit me in a way where we as a church need to see what is going on around us, be aware of our surroundings, see the people that are maybe quiet in the congregation or even in our own chapel here. Maybe someone's sitting by themselves, maybe we should go over and put a hand on them and say hi or ask them how they're doing. We must treat others the way we want to be treated. A lot of you guys have heard that before, and I just think that is just a good saying for this passage. We all want to be treated with respect. We don't want to be treated like trash left on the side of the road. We see all throughout the Bible the ways we are to love others and to encourage them. We must be a light in the dark and with hurting people. Mark 12:31 says, "The second this is, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no greater command than these." Another verse as well is 1 John 4:7. "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God." I could read many more passages throughout the Bible of where we are told to love others, to encourage others. It should not matter what someone looks like, what disabled ability they may have. or how they act. It says throughout the Bible so many times of how we are called to love people. So I also have a story myself of going to a church in high school I went to a church. And when I first went, my cousin invited me to attend with her. And I thought these people, they seemed to be very classy, rich, intelligent people at this church. And I just felt judged right away when I walked through the doors. No one in the high school ministry welcomed me, and I didn't want to go back at all. Then my cousin decided or convinced me that I should go back and try it out for another time. So that's what I did. I went back, and the high school ministry leaders at the time welcomed me in. They asked me many questions. They asked me things that other people probably wouldn't have asked me. And so that made me feel more comfortable being in that setting where they actually welcomed me in. They talked to me. They didn't ignore me like the first time, which was really hard. But after I realized that I kind of had to make an effort too, walking in there, not sitting by myself, that they made me feel welcomed. And the next part is, I feel that it doesn't matter if you are an elder, a parent, an adult, a married couple, or a junior high or high school student. We are the body, and we can make an impact on the lives of others. We can be like Jesus. We can love others and make them feel accepted and wanted. There's been times where I have felt uncomfortable in a situation, but I feel that when we are uncomfortable, there's the most beautiful times where the Lord can use us to touch people's lives. The Lord works in crazy, mysterious ways if we follow the path that He has for us. Parents. Now, I know that there's only one parent in here, but parents, I'm going to talk to you guys. You are to lead by example, teaching your kids the way to treat others. They watch you and what you say and how you act. If you are going to talk about a man on the street that you see that looks like trash or looks dirty or gross and grungy, your kid's going to think, oh, that man is. They're not going to think, oh, I wonder what's his story behind the situation. I wonder what's going on or why he's on the street. So parents, you are the ones who have a huge impact on your children by the words you say and the words that you speak around your children. May you be that example to your children, and that they can one day be a man and woman of God that looks at someone like Jesus would look at them. And students, let your heart see others in your group the way Jesus did as well. Learn to love students. If there's kids in your group, or even us as well, as in college, if we see someone by themselves, like I said earlier, by themselves, we should go out and talk to them. Ask them their name. Maybe they're having a rough day, maybe not, but acknowledging someone, that they're there and they're present, makes them feel like they're alive. When we accept and learn to love others because of their differences, we win the battle. We see love rather than hurt. I know that we are not perfect, we are human, but we have a choice when it comes to how we react and treat others. My last story is about a girl named Joy. I worked at a summer camp, and there was a girl named Joy who was 22 at the time. She wasn't supposed to be technically in high school, but she was special to us. She had Down syndrome and was still currently in high school. Many of the students reacted strange to her. They didn't know how they felt. They didn't know if they could hang out around her or if they even wanted to. There were students that would talk about her, make fun of her, laugh at her. And there were other students who blew my mind. The way they interacted with her, the way they talked to her, the way they hung out with her. They had a choice not to hang out with her, but they chose to spend their free time during summer camp to hang out with this girl who had Down syndrome. And Joy could probably not have a conversation with you for more than 5 minutes. Her attention span was gone, but they chose to love her and be with her and make a friendship with her. Are we going to be like the crowd in Mark, or are we going to be like the students who hung out with Joy? It is sad that this happens a lot to students in schools, on sports teams, even adults at work, and families and friends. May we never let a Haley or a Bartimaeus situation happen. So what will you do next time at church, or at school, or even in your work atmosphere? Will you go and say hi to the students or the coworkers who are sitting alone or by themselves, or the people walking alone or being put down? Will you be the crowd, or will you be Jesus? And that's all I have.
Who are you, and what have you done with the Victoria from the beginning of the semester?
Amen. That was solid.